Is Donald Trump about to kill democracy in the USA? It's a question that has to be asked because Trump's one big, beautiful bill act, which is his budget bill, which right now is in front of the House of Representatives in the US Congress, does include a clause which could literally destroy US democracy. Now, that's illogical, of course. A budget bill should not include a provision that kills democracy, but this one does, because Trump is in a hurry to get laws passed that give him ultimate power in the USA. And that's what he's doing with this budget clause. And it's so important that I'm going to read it. It says, no court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was. Is Donald Trump, because there is nothing that the courts could do to enforce their decision if he decided to ignore them. So what too if he jails the judges who might still challenge him, even if they know that their orders can't be enforced? Even if they just did this to represent the fact that there was something wrong, he can effectively suspend habeas corpus with regard to them, their right to be held without trial, and jail them. And there is nothing in that case that any court could do to stop him doing so. It's 810 years since 1215. And in that year, King John of England was forced by his barons to sign the Magna Carta. That absolutely pivotal document in the history of the development of democracy and constitutional government limited royal prerogative and made some rights inalienable. In particular, there was a requirement that the rule of law be upheld. Everyone, including the king, was, because there is nothing that the courts could do to enforce their decision if he decided to ignore them. So what too if he jails the judges who might still challenge him, even if they know that their orders can't be enforced? Even if they just did this to represent the fact that there was something wrong, he can effectively suspend habeas corpus with regard to them, their right to be held without trial, and jail them. And there is nothing in that case that any court could do to stop him doing so. It's
Peace and love, everybody, and welcome to Let It Be Known as Stacy gets his mic together. Welcome back. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. I'm Niele, and we have a lot of headlines to jump into this morning. As you just saw, the world is talking about what's going on here in America, and we're just kind of line dancing through it, as Black folks are. But everybody sees that we're in a constitutional crisis here in America. And our first story, definitely that Stacy's going to jump into, is going to talk about the Black folks that have helped move democracy along in this country.
Yeah, Charlie Rangel, congressman from Harlem. He was really one of the godfathers of it all, and the last remaining founder of the Congressional Black Caucus. He's died at the age of 94. He passed away yesterday. He was surrounded by his family, a native of Harlem, and the lone surviving member of the legendary Gang of Four. He took his reputation as the Lion of Lenox Avenue to the House of Representatives in 1971. He had defeated the renowned Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And gosh, this guy served so long. He became chair of the House Ways and Means Committee. You know, that's a powerful, powerful committee in the House, and he chaired that. And he was just simply put, a legend.
100%. Like you said, he's founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus. He was elected in 1971, served 23 terms. And one thing we should highlight is he was a primary sponsor of Obamacare, which is healthcare reform. So without his input, we might not have this privilege of healthcare that, the Project 2025 is constantly chomping away at 40 bills and resolutions that became law. And one of the things that he is significantly responsible for is that earned income tax credit.
Yep.
All of the strides that we have moved forward within his 46 years have really been helpful to the Black community.
Yeah, what's interesting about him, one of the many interesting things about Charlie Rangel, um, he wrote a book some time ago, and he claimed in the book, he says he had never had a bad day since he survived an attack by the Chinese and the North Korean armies when he served in the Korean War. He says,
Mm,
but it doesn't mean I haven't had some heartbreaking experiences. Setbacks I've had, but bad days, no. Very interesting.
Yeah, he'll be sadly missed. And we'll see if that lousy president of ours has anything respectful to say. We also could be on the lookout to see if he will lie in state at the state capitol, and if he will be honored with the dignity that he deserves. Sorry
Yeah.
about
And as Mike V put it frankly, if this is an individual that lived through Jim Crow, apartheid, and defended it defeated it, I should say, with the 24th Amendment as well. A tall tree in the forest of our community is it's how Mike V put it, and I think it's very
that.
well put.
Mhm.
Wow. So Charlie Rangel, of course, will be missed. I was talking to Austin Cooper yesterday. Austin said he had just spoken with Charlie Rangel maybe about 2 weeks ago. They had kept in constant contact. Austin worked for him years and years ago, and they became really close friends. And of course, Austin was very, very, very saddened to learn of his death. He had called me yesterday morning, not long after the news started to spread about his death. So, again, Charlie Rangel, a giant in American politics, certainly one of the most popular folks out of Harlem, certainly politically, has died at the age of 94. Wow. I just remember when I see that video and those images, I just remember this guy like he's the one politician as a Black person from New York. He's the one politician. If you didn't know anything about any other politicians, you knew about Charlie Rangel.
Mhm.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
On the 5th anniversary, folks, of George Floyd's murder, Dr. Jamal Bryant led a national prayer protest targeting Target's rollback of DE&I efforts. He said 67 churches joined in what he called a spiritual act of uprising, staging 9-minute and 40-second demonstrations outside Target stores in honor of the time George Floyd was pinned to the ground by police. Um, the Reverend Bryant said that 5 years ago, the CEO of Target said George Floyd could have been one of his employees and with no pressure made a pledge of $2 billion. And then he says to see mega companies now walk away from diversity, equity, and inclusion is a stark contrast from where we were 5 years ago. So a huge, huge demonstration outside of Target stores, apparently in 67 different locations, led by 67 different churches.
Yeah, very significant. I mean, I think it just can't be lost that the headquarters of Target is in Minneapolis, less than 2 miles from where George Floyd was murdered. And so it's not by happenstance or that Target was chosen for any other reason by the three individual activists coming out of Minneapolis. Target is right where George Floyd died, and that's why it was chosen. And it's so good whether it's a cohesive movement together, but the significance cannot be lost that Target was targeted because their headquarters are in Minneapolis. So on the 5th anniversary of we remember what happened to George Floyd, that Target is the bullseye to prove that Black people do have economic buying power, and that when we put our mind to it, we can make an impact and show that and demand some type of accountability and change. I know there was an article coming out of Daily Mail that's saying that Target workers are concerned that they could start losing their jobs, that stores could start closing, because as long as their profit continues to drop, they are going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, I saw where was it Tabitha Brown got some blowback. She was actually, and I didn't hear her say this. I was looking for the video, but there is a lot of stuff all on social media going at her because she apparently, allegedly, was encouraging Black folks to go back to and shop at Target because she's saying that Black brands are being hurt. And folks were really going in hard. Some of the stuff we can't even repeat what they
Right.
were saying, but um, it's a for those uh, business owners, Black business owners who were doing business with Target, it's such a it's a problem for them, and it's a dilemma. What do they do?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually saw the video, and she didn't necessarily say to shop at Target. What she says is that if you want to be intentional about supporting the brands that are losing in Target, to go buy from them directly. And that is like a narrative that is getting lost. It's probably something that, Pastor Jamal Bryant probably should put on his website, is that the individuals, the entrepreneurs that have products in Target, to buy from them directly. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like we still want to support them, but we just can't buy it from Target right now. So if there's like as movements grow, so does the outreach and what's supposed to be done. So all of those creators and entrepreneurs that have products in Target, we do need to be more intentional about showing, okay, don't go to Target and buy it, but go to this website and buy it.
Yeah,
Just don't buy from Target.
yeah, every week the Black Press holds a meeting. Dr. Chavis, President and CEO, and the chairman Bobby Henry and others as a meeting. And I know Dr. Chavis has spoken specifically what you just said. He's encouraged folks to go to these Black business owners who do business with Target, who are being affected by Target, go to their website. So he
Mhm.
certainly has encouraged the Black press to go to their websites. But that's a really good point, and maybe the others can do the same. And you mentioned too the three who actually started this. They, I believe, they too have been very intentional about those things as well. So, and we should probably call their names. We just had Nakima on, right? And there's others. There's a couple of others involved with her who literally started and raised awareness to what Target was doing and not doing, and they started the
Mhm.
whole movement that everyone else joined in later on.
Yeah, February 1st, first day of Black History Month is when it started. And
Yeah.
it's grown and it's fabulous, and applause to everybody that jumped in and supported it. But I think that missing piece, and maybe it's something that the Black press can do, is create a web page with all of the entrepreneurs that are in Target, and you go to Black Press USA and get those products from there, so you don't have to go to Target, and it makes it easier. But I think that's the next step that needs to happen, because that's one thing that we talk about, that doesn't happen in the Black community: how we recycle the Black dollar. If you look at the
Mhm.
Asian community and the Jewish community, the dollar passes in that community maybe 10 times. In the Black community, it's like within hours our dollar does not recycle. And so
Mhm.
if we can kind of make that shift to where we begin to recycle the Black dollar more, it's only going to help our community and show our buying power.
Yeah, yeah. It is a great idea, and perhaps I don't know, maybe Greer or I could bring that up in the next meeting of Black Press. To have that on Black Press USA is an outstanding idea. Now, one of the problems, and RNG brings this out, and I don't know that it. I don't. I don't really know all of the brands in Target, the Black brands, Black owned brands, but he mentioned something here interesting. He says, am I buying from Black people who support Trump? We really need to check that. Is there any indication? I guess perhaps he can answer this. Is there indication that someone, maybe even Tabitha Brown, I don't know, are they supporting this administration? You laugh, but I'm just trying. I think people have that question, and he certainly has it.
I think how people vote or don't vote is their
Hmm.
business.
Hmm.
And I think that, it's more about like the brands that you like. So if
Hmm.
I like a brand, I'm not really thinking about who they voted for. I'm buying a brand because I like the way the products feel in my hair, or because I like the seasoning salt, or I like this and that. And so I think that that gets a little dangerous when we start deciding, okay, I'm not going to do this because of that. I mean, it's a product. People make
Hmm.
products. I mean, if that's the case, then think about, like, look in your closet, look in your pantry. It's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to stop buying. And we should start with the white products first, if that's the standard we're about to make. If we're looking at what Black folks and how they vote, and then let's start with the white folks, and let's go through our closets, let's go through our pantries, let's look at the furniture in our houses, the TVs we buy. Let's
Yep.
start there if that's the case.
Yep. 100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. It's a question, and I'm sure he's not the only one with that question and with that issue.
Yeah.
But the
But it's
way you broke it
dangerous to
down, I
do
think.
that. It's dangerous to start doing that.
Mhm. Yep.
Picking, okay, you voted for Trump and you Black, so I'm not supporting you. But your whole house is full of products by white people, Asian people, Jewish people that voted for Trump.
Yeah, right. Right. You can't. Perhaps you can, but maybe you shouldn't put politics in everything, right?
Yeah. That's the way it used to be. It's Donald Trump has changed that. We have to be careful not to follow his lead. It
Hmm.
becomes very dangerous to follow that stupid mindset.
Yeah.
It's definitely Donald Trump has a stupid mindset.
Here's something that when you think about, we always get the employment stats and the unemployment stats every month from the uh, Bureau of Labor Statistics. And but here's something that I think that is overlooked. I know it's overlooked. In fact, this report shows that it's totally overlooked by BLS and others. A new research is showing that 1 in 4 Americans, that's 25% of Americans, are, quote, functionally unemployed.
Mm.
It's the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity. They've reported an increase in functional unemployment. According to their April true rate of unemployment, the rate of functional unemployment has risen to 24.3%, which is the third consecutive month it has exceeded 24%. The true TRU measures the functionally unemployed, which includes the jobless, those seeking but unable to find full-time employment, and individuals in poverty wage jobs. So when you add all that up, for instance, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the unemployment rate overall is about 5.3% or something of that nature. But the true unemployment rate, the functionally unemployment rate, is 24%. That is extremely high.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's only going to get worse. That's the sad part about it. We're in a state right now that things are not going to look up. It's not like we have an Obama where, the audacity of hope is the spirit of the hour. With this administration, is doom and gloom. And so when we look at these types of numbers, we should be startled. We should really be paying attention. We should have our Congress members, House and Senate, on speed dial.
Yeah, and Mike V says it's kind of hard to find a job when the administration is putting tariff, creating uncertainty in the market itself. And we were talking about Target, and one of the things that the CEO of Target said last week, in addition to the boycotts and protests that are hurting Target, he also mentioned the tariffs as well. So you combine that, and not that anybody's feeling sorry for Target. This is not that, but it's every business has to put up. Just about every business has to put up with these this crazy, ludicrous trade wars that this president has decided to enter in. Now he's going. It's Europe and the United States. It's just gone really off the charts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it only affects the middle class, the working class. I don't want to say the unhoused.
Hmm.
And so everything that Donald Trump is doing is not for the benefit of the average American person. Even if you're upper class, you're still impacted by this. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, you still got to think about the federal workers that were considered upper class and now they are unemployed. And it's going to be hard for them to find a job. So this trickle down effect of what he's doing is detrimental to majority of America. We're talking about 1% that everything that he's doing is benefiting. And so we have to figure out a way as the American people to really, get involved on a state, local, and like I say, these Congress members, their numbers need to be on speed dial.
Speak dial. And to go along with that, Michael Johnston, who is a professor emeritus at Colgate University, and he's the author of multiple books on corruption in the United States. This is his quote. He says, "I've been watching and writing about corruption for 50 years, and my head is still spinning." He went into how, remember when Hillary Clinton was first lady, there was this huge uproar over reports that she had once made $100,000 from a $1,000 investment in cattle futures, even though it had happened a dozen years before her husband became president. It became a scandal that lasted weeks and forced the White House to initiate a review. Well, 31 years later, after dinner at Mar-a-Lago, Jeff Bezos agreed to finance a promotional film about Melania Trump that will reportedly put $28 million directly in her pocket,
Mm.
280 times more than Clinton in that situation. Well, scandal, furor. Well, Washington moved on while barely taking notice. The Trump family is cashing in like never before, and no one is batting an eye. Of course, Melania getting 28 million. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Trump's crypto venture brought in 320 million, and a $2 billion UAE real estate deal was sealed just weeks before Trump went to visit that nation. Of course, Qatar handed over a $200 million luxury jet. Some say it's worth $400 million. And of course, access to the president sold $500,000 a head that he's charging at an exclusive DC club. His net worth has zoomed now since he's taken office to $5.1 billion. The White House is a booming business for this guy.
Yeah, I think to sum it up in a nutshell of what you just said, Trump monetizes presidencies, and that's just what it is. Him and his family, like I am so Dr. Amos Brown. He said it best: when they're quiet, that's when you should be concerned. And I've said this several times. We should be concerned about what Jared Kushner is doing, what Ivanka Trump is doing. We know both of his sons are overseas, toting their father's presidency to get what they want. And we have no idea the deals they're striking, the promises that they are making on our behalf, on the United States' behalf, that we have nothing to do with. We don't know if they're about to get us into war. We don't know if they're about to triple down our debt. We don't know what these people are doing. And nobody is check and balancing them, because they're just constantly throwing stuff at them. And I think that's the trade between Trump and Project 2025. Project 2025, I'm going to give you reign of the government. I'm going to let you go and tear it down. And you leave me and my family alone while we go and rape the world. And it's like, it's that yin and yang that they're doing. And we're sitting up here, just so confused and trying to just catch or dodge every ball that they're throwing at us. And so, I mean, and like you said, Melania, she's getting a kickback. He keeping her happy.
Yeah.
And so we have to, I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if it's us calling Hakeem. Maybe we need to be strategic, like the Target boycott. Maybe we need to start being strategic on the Congress members that we call. Maybe us as a Black community, we need to do that Target fast up a level and just focus on our Congressional Black Caucus members and call them and let them know what it is we need to do. We want them to do, and then how can we support them? We just brought up, Charlie Rangel, founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus. People only act and react based upon what's coming at them. And so maybe they just looking at us American people, well, we hear what's happening, but we're not really tripping. We're not really pushing up on nobody. We're just taking it as it comes. And so there's going to be an uprise. It's just, what is it going to take? Or what is that moment that is just going to set everybody off?
Well, and as Dr. Joni mentions too, Trump has fired all the oversight officers in all the departments that would be checking on these moves being made. And we know that they did an order, a couple weeks ago or so, in which they made it clear that white collar crimes were not to be investigated. Right. So it's right there in front of you. This is not hidden in the dark. They are doing it in your face. And you talk about calling or strategically doing something with Congress or the Black Caucus. It gets disheartening for many. Many have said it's gotten disheartening when you hear them essentially say that there's nothing we can do. And you wonder. It makes you wonder, and I've said this for a while now, it makes you wonder, all these years, a lot of these guys, a lot of these men and women have been in Congress for 100 years. They've spent decades in Congress, meaning that they've worked a lot with the other side. Anytime the other side, and now we're talking Democrats and Republicans now, anytime the Republicans seem to have needed some sort of support from the Democrats, that cooperation seems to have been freely given, or maybe some sort of quiet quid pro quo. But the Democrats are not getting any cooperation from the other side at all in this moment. Or is it, Niele, and I've asked this question, that you have enough Democrats who are not necessarily opposed to what's going on?
I think that I think that, for one, we talk a lot about what's happening on the hills because we're very in tune. But you would be surprised that the average American citizen has no idea what's going on with Congress, how it works. I bet you if you were to go do a man on the street today and talk to 20 people, maybe 2 or 3 could tell you who their congressional member is, what district they reside in. And so I think that there has to be a connection with the masses on how government actually works, because most people are just trying to feed their family, have a life. They're not into government like we are. And I have this conversation all the time with a lot of my friends that are in politics. I'm like, we operate in a bubble. And we think that everybody knows what we know. And the average person, like I say, if you were to go do a man on the street with 20 people, I would say 2 people could tell you who their state representatives are, who their federal representatives are. They just don't know. And so I don't want to say that Democrats aren't doing anything, because we get these clips sometimes from these committee hearings. There are tons of committee hearings that are going on every day, but it's only the ones where you see a Black woman checking somebody to where you're going to get that viral moment. But for every one Black person you see, there are probably 5 to 10 that are doing the exact same thing. They just didn't get the viral clip. So I don't want to say that they're not doing anything. I just want to say that it's not being televised. And so I think that that's critical, that people, us, we the people, need to get more involved in our civic duty and our civic participation. Civic duty and civic participation is going to be what change. And I think the prime example is Barack Obama in the presidency. People took on their responsibility and their civic duty. The problem is, once he got elected, we stopped. But we the people, not them, we the people have to be more civically engaged.
So some of the comments, I'll start with Orangey. He says he's double checked everything in his house. Not one was made by a Trump supporter. He says the only thing stupid is supporting Black MAGA because they make a product that you like. So he doesn't agree with that. Southbound 3000 says, why worry when the American voter wanted this and now it's hitting home? Black America has to save the country. And MB says we should still bother them with our calls. They work for us. Congress represents the people, not the president. And M. Adams says anybody talking party politics is simply 20 years behind. The duopoly dictatorship is corrupt to the bone. Nobody's paying any attention to the criminals supporting genocide. Hello, he says, or he or she says, I should say. It might be information voters is a real thing. And I mean, it goes on. Nancy Wall, my sister and daughter are very in tune to what's happening. And so the thing is, I think you're right, Niele, for the most part. I don't think when you do talk to people, like you said, a man on the street, I think you'll find that they have very little idea of how what's going on, or how things really work. I think that's very true. I also think that you have a lot of people who are simply disengaged. And but then you go back to Dr. I was going to mention this, and she mentioned it. Those who do follow it, when you see something like Cory Booker voting in favor of Charles Kushner to be appointed, it's like, why? After that 25-hour speech on the floor, he had so much goodwill, and I simply don't understand why he would vote that way. So that you get that. And how do you look at these so-called leaders when they are, talking out of both sides of their mouth? Cory Booker, I mean, what's the excuse? Well, there should be no excuse to go along with anything, and certainly any of these nominees. And Charles Kushner, we know he's convicted. He's a convict.
For sure, yeah. I mean, and I think it's worth a question to ask him. I mean, I don't think, it's something to cancel him for, but I think it's a valid question to ask him about, and get answers from. And that's what I'm talking about, civic participation. Pull up to his town hall, and because they're trying to ask those questions, and ask the question. It's like some of this stuff we have the opportunity to question. Call his office, ask why.
Yeah. Well, here's something. Greer says that Kushner funded Booker's career.
Well, his campaign. Yeah.
His campaign. So is that a quid pro quo that we look? Then how do you? So Booker, how do you put yourself in a position to call out the quid pro quos that keep going on in this administration when you are basically in the same situation?
I mean, to be honestly truthful, from your favorite politicians, they've all accepted it when they're campaigning. That's the one thing about corporations. They give to both parties because they don't know who's going to win. So that's not surprising to me that once upon a time, Kushner funded his campaign. That's not it. Your feelings would probably be hurt if you went down every Congressional Black Caucus member and saw where their contributions came from. And I'm talking about maybe not as of late, maybe not as of like since Donald Trump. Maybe they have been more conservative about who they accept money from. But that happens all the time. It's part of the game. These corporations, these billionaires give money to both candidates because they don't know who's going to win and they want the influence once that person is elected. Kamala Harris, she's accepted campaign money when she was running for attorney general from somebody. The gentleman from Trump's first term that was over the Treasury Department. I can't think of his name.
I can't know his name, but yes.
But he funded some of Kamala Harris's campaign when she ran for attorney general. And so it happens. But I think the most important thing is to let these elected officials know that you're watching, that we're watching, and that we're going to hold you accountable when you do bogus stuff like that. But the only way it's going to happen is if we participate and not just sit and talk about it, but to be actually involved in the process.
Patricia Jackson says Booker could have just stood down because his vote really wasn't needed. But, you know, it's interesting. And I always remember, and again, I'm never going to, unless he says, and I've already said it's a he, it says it's okay to say I said it, but I'll never forget a very prominent member of the Congressional Black Caucus told me, we were at the Walter Washington Convention Center some years ago, and said, let me tell you something. He says, this is why and this is before things got the way they are now, long before. He says, we will never get to where we need to be not because of them, but because of people on our team, people who wear this button. He had a Congressional Black Caucus pen. He says many of them are taking from places that you would not ever believe. White supremacist stuff. They were backing it quietly. And when it comes to, he said, look at their votes. Some of them are going to vote present on certain things. Some of them are going to be absent. He said this is why we can't get anywhere. But it's to your point about the corruption, well, not necessarily corruption, you didn't say corruption, but to this idea of you get certain people supporting certain people. We saw Jamal Bowman lose his seat because of that same trick. He was ganged up on by members of his own party, and they used Trump money to defeat him. People who backed Trump. And so his opponent used Trump money. Same thing. That's why, what's her name? You know, our girl Nina. So people say she's bitter. She's really angry. They did the same thing to her. So this idea of not being, just about everybody has this skeleton, right? And they've lost their freeness of speech. If it really comes down to it, because for Booker not to be able to stand up because, okay, Kushner, helped gave to my campaign 20 years ago, for him not to be able to stand up, he's lost his freeness of speech. How do you go after somebody else then? And I'm not singling out Booker. I'm just using that as an example. I like Cory Booker. He's been good for Congress.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the dilemma that folks have when they see this stuff and they get upset. They have every right to get upset. But I guess to your point, part of your point is, and I know Greer mentions this in the chat, they can replace.
I don't think sometimes it's about replacing. I just think it's about accountability. And the only way they're going to be held accountable is if the people, the voters, the constituents get involved. And so what's happening on the Hill has been happening. But the power is in people. I mean, if you look at all movements, all change it started by the people. I know you said somebody said before, why does it always have to be Black people? I wish it wasn't, but any monumental change that has happened in this country has been because of Black people. It has been because of movements led by African Americans in this country. And once again, I'm not saying that it has to be us to change what's happening, but what I am saying is that the people, the constituents, the voters, the change is going to come from us. That's the only way these people are going to be checked. That's
This
it.
guy says Cory Booker. He's calling Cory Booker a criminal. The only criminal, the only elected criminal that I know, and y'all can help me out, because I'm being honest when I say this. I don't know that anybody sitting in Congress, Republican or Democrat, anybody sitting on the Senate, Republican or Democrat, with a criminal conviction. But the guy who's running everything has 34 criminal convictions, I should say. So
And he's
the
appointing. No,
only
let's be clear. He's appointing criminals too. We were just talking about
and,
Kushner.
right.
He's appointing them.
He's appointing
Yeah.
people. Charles Kushner, convict. He was convicted at. So you can say with total certainty he's a convict. The guy running the White House is a convict. Those are the only, and the ones that you mentioned that he has appointed. Those are the only ones with criminal convictions. So I am not prepared to call Cory Booker. I don't know he's never been charged with a crime. I don't know that, and that goes with the Republicans too. As far as I know, none of them have been charged or convicted. So this is not a Democrat thing, or a Republican thing. This is a president who has been convicted. The only politician that we know, at least that I know, again, unless you guys can tell me in the chat differently, name somebody who's been convicted. The crazy boy, he's going to jail next month from New York. The one that who I'm talking about.
Santos, right?
Yeah.
Santos.
Menendez from New Jersey. He's going to prison next month, right? So, and then he's no longer on Congress. Neither one of them. So miss me with the Cory Booker being a criminal. Show me that he's a criminal. Where's his arrest record? Anyway, we move on. Niele, you got any
we have some more headlines and trending news that are happening. On a brighter note, William F. Tate becomes the second African American to be named Rutgers University president. So he has some, a lot on his plate because Trump is coming after any university or institution that practices DEI. We haven't heard anything from Trump yet to say this is the DEI hire, but in his mind, it is. But we wish him all the best as he leads that Ivy College. And more news, let's head over to New Orleans. 3 more New Orleans inmates were captured yesterday, leaving 2 at large. So it's been almost 2 weeks since 10 inmates broke out of the New Orleans jail. Authorities continue to search for the remaining 2. So far, 13 people have been arrested in connection with allegedly assisting them.
Now, Niele, I got a question on that. Is it true that one of them was caught sleeping at a bus stop?
Correct.
He was taking a nap at the bus stop.
Yeah, one of them was caught because he was on Instagram. They're not the sharpest knives in the bunch.
Hey, wasn't there a show, America's Dumbest Criminals?
Well,
and folks have been arrested, right? 3 people were arrested for helping them, and I think the grandmother of one of the convicts, so the escaped convicts, was also arrested for giving him money.
Yeah, 13 people so far in connection. So it started at 10, now we're at 23 with 2 at large.
Who's the one that got caught sleeping at the bus stop? I'd like to do an interview with this.
And you would think that Anthony Macy, since he has all the tattoos on his face, would be the easiest one to capture because he's branded. So there you have it. So 2 at large. So if you're down south, a couple of them were captured in Texas. So if you're down south, be careful. All right. In some hip hop news, African Bambaataa, remember him? Y'all remember African Bambaataa? He's lost a civil suit accusing him of sexually abusing a child after he failed to respond in court. Now, the plaintiff alleged that Bambaataa abused him at the age of 12, and the Zulu Nation, which Bambaataa pioneered, called the matter personal, and the organization was also named in the suit. Wow. This was a black eye for hip hop. Truly was.
Well, he's a pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know
Yeah.
about that one.
Mm-hmm. 12 years
Dang.
old. Back in the day, you know,
Mm,
getting all the kids together, hip hop. And here he
mhm.
is,
Wow.
allegedly. And
Okay.
there you have it, African Bombata.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
ooh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
In some more trending headline news, Lionsgate's highly anticipated Michael Jackson biopic entitled Simply Michael, starring Jafar Jackson, his nephew, has been pushed back to 2026. I'm sorry, to 2026. Now, the film is about 3.5 hours, and they're thinking about splitting it into 2 episodes. The cast is star-studded with Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson, Nia Long as Catherine Jackson. They're saying they're pushing it back because they have to get some more still photography to go along with the movie. And so we just have to wait a little longer. But this is probably one of the most anticipated movies about Michael Jackson to ever be done. So be on the
So
lookout for that.
yeah, so one of the issues that keep coming up, and this I keep hearing about, is that the Michael Jackson estate was not happy that they wanted them to in no way address the child molestation allegations, and the movie apparently does address that to the angst of the estate of Michael Jackson. They wanted that out of there, and so there's been some discussions, long drawn out discussions. That's not the only reason why it's being held up, as you mentioned. There's other reasons as well. 3.5 hours. They're trying to decide whether or not to make it a two-parter, dropping the first part in 26 and the second part in 27. But I know that the issue of the allegations against Michael, in which he was acquitted in 2005, the anniversary of that is coming up in a few weeks. The anniversary, the 20th anniversary of his acquittal. Did I say conviction? But he was acquitted in 2020, in 2005 of 13 charges related to one of his accusers, but that information they didn't want to go near it in this film. The estate didn't anyway, and so
Yeah.
that's been a
Well, the
big
movie's
point.
done. It's done. They just are filming still. So, I
Mhm.
mean, if it's a biopic, how can you have a biopic and not have
And
the
that was
full
the producer's
story?
argument. Exactly. The whoever was putting this together, that was apparently their argument. Same argument they had when they were doing the Broadway show as well. I guess they were able to avoid it with the Broadway show, but that was a huge argument about whether or not they should or shouldn't at least have some mention of the scandal. But the estate wanted no part of the scandal.
Well, and it's interesting. It's in it. It's in the movie, and his nephew is playing him. And they say he does a fantastic job. I know that there were some songs that were released, sounds just like Michael Jackson. So I think his uncle would be pretty impressed at what he's done. I mean, he looks like Michael, sounds like Michael, practiced the moves. And so it's definitely one to be on the lookout for. We know Coleman Domingo is a top tier actor. We love Nia Long. I've seen her as Catherine Jackson. She looks phenomenal. I know Haley Bailey is in the movie as well. I'm not sure if she plays Latoya or Janet, but she's in the movie. So it's a star-studded cast. Movie
Mhm.
looks great. Like I said, they said that they had some photography to continue to do to fill in the rest of the movie. And so we have till next year. And the way time is flying, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah.
2027 will be here before we know it. And last but not least, speaking of estates, the Whitney Houston estate will launch Voice of Whitney, symphonic celebration of Northern American tour. It'll kick off on September 20th to mark the 40th anniversary of her debut album. The tour features remastered vocals, never before seen footage, and even a narration from our beloved Whitney Houston, with performances by top orchestras across several states. So, if you're a Whitney Houston fan, this will be something to honor her legacy. We never know what type of celebrity pop-ups might happen, but as we see these estates, they're keeping the legacies of these icons alive.
Are they and they're doing another Bodyguard, right?
Well, I mean, there are rumors of it, and they were talking about who should be play Whitney. I know somebody said Taylor Swift. So yeah. I mean, but that wasn't confirmed. I just saw those headlines, but I didn't see any like hard confirmation from Hollywood Reporter or Deadline or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
but would we want to see another Bodyguard? Would we want to see that remake? I don't know. I don't know.
They remake everything. I can listen. Do y'all want to see another Bodyguard? Chat?
But I think that Bodyguard was already a remake.
Yeah,
it was done before. It was a remake. So they're gonna make a remake of a remake.
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah. Maybe Meg the Stallion.
Oh, Meg? You think?
I mean, if they put out Taylor Swift, why not Meg the Stallion?
Why not?
Taylor Swift, Meg the Stallion. I don't know who I would want to see take Whitney's spot.
You know, a movie I never seen. I always see the previews, and I always tempted to watch on. I think it's on Prime or Netflix. Beyonce and Idris Elba was in a movie.
Obsessed.
Right, but I've never watched that.
It was good. She did a good job. I would say she did a good job. Okay. It was good. It was good. But she said she's not jumping into the acting business anymore.
I see Kelly is doing a Tyler Perry movie, or did one.
She did a Tyler Perry. She has another one coming out. Kelly is turning into a good actress. I mean, she's a good actress. So I mean, maybe she could do Bodyguard. You know what? She would be good in that role. I could see that.
Okay.
I could see Kelly rolling.
So, a question from Dr. Joni Niele is: the Whitney concert you mentioned, is it similar to how she's asking? Is it similar to how Natalie Cole sang with the AI version of her father?
No, they didn't say it was an AI, like the virtual person on stage. No, it's not going to be that. It's just going to be a symphony. You're going to hear her voice. You're going to hear some of her remastered vocals, but you won't see a hologram. I think that's what they call it, a hologram.
Oh, no, right.
It doesn't make mention of a hologram.
Oh, okay. That's good. Those things are okay.
When I saw this story, I felt so bad because I thought about it. Her mother's gone, her daughter's gone. So the estate is Pat, right? Her sister-in-law and her brother.
Yes. So, yeah. Wow. Well, we'll see what comes of that. Like you said, all these estates are popping, and somebody even mentioned Prince's estate pushing back against a similar project on his life. So it's like, wow, it's a shame that you mentioned Whitney and Michael, and it's a shame that they're not here.
Right.
All of them too young.
Wasn't Purple Rain based about his life as well?
It was a what do you call it? Not fully biographic, but it was sort of
the parent part was about his life, right? That actually happened. Okay.
Yeah, and the whole 7th Avenue, the venue there, and all of that. So Jerome Benton has kept saying that there is a Purple Rain 2, but we still haven't seen the light of day. He said he's been saying that for a few years now. So I don't know that you can have a Purple Rain 2 unless it's been filmed years ago with Prince in it. So there you go. I don't want to just go see the Revolution. I'm sorry, guys. So anyway, anything else from you?
Oh, that's it. That's
it. Okay. Loosely. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Dr. Joni. Loosely. set in the areas where he grew up in Minneapolis, etc., like Lake Minnetonka. All right, so we are taking away somebody's black card today, and that person, his name is Nicholas Jackson. Now, you may not know Nicholas Jackson, but he made big news over the weekend for something so mind-boggling that I had to call other journalists that I know to make sure that what I was seeing was totally accurate. This dude actually went into a BMW dealer and tried to buy a car using an EBT card in which he reportedly had $60,000 worth of food stamps on it. $60,000. Dude was, of course, denied the purchase, and you'd think he would have just left and felt fortunate that the salesman didn't turn him in. No, he came back after the dealership closed and stole the keys to 40 vehicles, and he took that BMW anyway. Now he'll be in jail for a few years, and while he's there, he'll be without his black card. That is just insane. First, how do you get $60,000 in food stamps?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the black card revoked. That's just a dummy. Is he kin to Trump? But I can see Donald Trump using this as, this is why we need to take away SNAP.
Right.
This is why.
Right. She said, don't hate the player, hate the game.
I mean, it's just like, what? I mean, I could see you going to CarMax, but the BMW, I mean, they're like how like sometimes in your neighborhood you have these like odd car dealerships with maybe 4 cars, and it's a mechanic shop in the back. I could see him taking the food stamps to a place like that, but not to
hate
a
the game. She
BMW
said, hate the
dealership.
game. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
That is
funny.
bizarre.
That's
It's
funny.
so bizarre.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And look, I gotta be fair. It's got to be some sort of mental illness related to this. Got to be. I didn't see any reports to suggest that, but I don't think you need any reports to suggest that. Come on.
I mean, I like I said, I could see him actually going to the neighborhood mechanic that sells cars, and they have the cardboard $4,500 car, $3,000 car, and then they fixing tires and putting air in the tire. I could see him going there with his food stamps, but not to the BMW dealership, bro. Come on.
MB said he must be a hoarder. But that to me is the most bizarre part. Oh my goodness. He says we still hating the player.
Well, he was, I mean, I don't know what game he was playing.
Listen, and then when they denied him, like I said, he goes back later after it closes. He not only steals the BMW that he wanted to buy with food stamps, but he takes the keys to like 40 other cars. He said, "Oh, buddy, is 5 cans short of a 6-pack." Is he related to Kanye?
Right. Okay. Kanye, Trump, all of them. But if I was him, I would definitely use a mental issue as my defense.
I mean, any lawyer, a public offender would use that. Come on.
I mean, that's where he definitely should, the route he should go.
Wow, this guy. I've learned some stuff. You mentioned a word last week that had us all, well, at least had me and a few others kind of like, what? You said homosexual, and now we got a guy with 60 grand in food stamps trying to buy a BMW.
I would have been slanging them. I would have been slanging them food stamps. I would have been put out a mass group text and been like, I got these food stamps over here. What y'all hitting for?
I got them stamps, y'all. I got them stamps.
Okay, could have made 100,000 and when it bought the car.
Oh my
He could
God.
have stood outside with the people getting the signatures for the petitions at the grocery store and catch the people going in and sell the food stamps and get the cash to go buy the car. I mean, he just didn't think that out.
And it's really interesting. That picture is an authentic picture. It's him, but it's interesting that he stood up. They have him stood up outside the police car like that. They know that this guy is, as RNG says, 5 cans short of a 6-pack. They know it. That's why
100%.
I mean, come on. All
And
right, folks.
and a lot of times people do petty crimes like because they want to be they want to be in jail. It's housing. You're gonna get your 3 meals a day,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna have a nice bed to sleep in.
Yep.
I mean, maybe that was his. Maybe he wanted some time.
I guess so, but certainly wasn't gonna he wasn't hurting to eat, that's for sure. 60 grand in food stamps.
Oh, and he looked like he was full.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he wasn't. He don't look like he was missing any meals.
He like he just woke up in that picture too. Oh man, terrible, terrible, terrible. All right, folks. A couple of Black History notes on this date in 1863. The assault of the Louisiana Colored Volunteers on the Confederate breastworks at Port Hudson was the first major battle in which Negro troops took part. So that is on this date in 1863.
And on this date, in 1958, the Little Rock Nine, one of the Little Rock Nine, Ernest Gideon Green, he graduated, was the first African American to graduate from school in 1958. So, there's a Little Rock Nine. I'm not sure which one Ernest is, but he
Mhm.
graduated. And so the strides that they made, he was able to graduate. And like we were talking earlier today, I think it's a great example of we hate to be the first. We hate to always carry the burden on our backs, but we do. And this is
Mhm.
those moments in American history where we were the ones who had to go into the schools and desegregate them. And we can celebrate Ernest today.
Yeah, nice. The first to graduate from that school in 1958. Wow, nice.
Little
And
Rocks.
and again, you saw the pictures earlier. That picture there. We talked recently, not long ago, anyway, on this program about how folks used to dress, and
Hmm.
you saw the suits and the outfits that they were wearing. I mean, just dapper.
To
Nice,
go to
really.
school, you know what I mean? There
Yeah.
was a level of pride that, I want to go to school and I could look just like them.
The first Black History moment, Orange E says his ancestor on his father's side fought in that battle. He was an escaped
Mm.
enslaved African from New Orleans. Wow,
Mm.
that is that's really, thanks for sharing that. That is the Negro troops, Louisiana Colored Volunteers on the Confederate breastworks at Port Hudson. Wow, that
Yeah.
is interesting. Yeah, there is a movie about the Little Rock Nine, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. I'm not sure though.
I thought there was a movie about the Little Rock Nine. Have to double check that, MB. Try and remember to find that answer and bring it to you tomorrow. Our newspaper, our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Greene County Democrat. The Greene County Democrat is a weekly newspaper serving Greene and surrounding counties in the Alabama Black Belt. The paper circulation is about 3,000 with 10,000 readers. It is the official newspaper of record for legal and public notices. The Greene County Democrat publishers say that they are an Afro-centric newspaper, but they serve the total community. So check out their website at www.greencounty, greencodemocrat.com. And Green has the E at the end of the green. So greencodemocrat.com, the Greene County Democrat.
Yeah. Weren't they the ones that were honored at
Yes,
last year's
indeed.
dinner? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're in Alabama and you want to get into journalism, that's a good publication to get your feet wet in. They're looking for journalists. I remember them talking about how they're trying to maintain their kids didn't want to pick up the legacy of the newspaper. And so they're definitely open and looking for journalists. So if you have somebody in that area, definitely that wants to get in journalism, send them their way.
Wow.
And for the latest in Black news and headlines, if you want to keep up with what's happening in Black America, head on over to BlackPressUSA.com.
Check it out. And wow, It's been a long weekend, but never long enough. But as you said this morning, it is really good that it's just a short week.
Hmm.
Not short enough. But there you go. BlackPressUSA.com. Check us out, and we'll get back with you tomorrow morning on Let It Be Known.